I was pulled over prior to that summer, but again, it was just like viral situation after viral situation, and getting pulled over well before it was just like, oh, okay, like I was taught, right? I don't know if you've had these discussions, having the talk. My mom was like, hey, you pulled over, yes sir, no sir, hands on the wheel, be polite, that whole situation, and you
Yeah.
should be okay. And seeing other situations where that doesn't matter,
Yeah,
you're not
absolutely.
combative or anything like that, and you still might not come out of your situation okay.
Hmm.
I was nervous. It was nuts. I had my brother-in-law with me and my brother in the back seat, and my brother-in-law was recording the entire interaction. And I didn't even think to do that. It was just like, and he played it back to me, and I was just like, wow, that was rough. That was difficult. And again, and coming out of a place of gratitude, and it's just like, you know, I don't know what his situation is that made him feel the need to do that. I didn't engage with him in that way. I didn't meet him where he was at, and
Right.
I was able to walk away from my situation or drive away from my
Yeah.
situation, uh, in one physical piece. Okay, a little shaken, but out of my situation like that. So, for some of us, seeing that stuff, it opens our own wounds. Like, hey, that could have been me, or that
Oh yeah.
was someone that I knew, very close to me, and
Absolutely.
that's just an awful, awful situation.
Yeah, man. And no, and I have talked about it a little bit, but let's be very clear here, since you brought it up, because I'm very much in support of that. Um, Particularly when it comes to like the way that you described how you had to navigate that experience, right? I've always found this part sort of baffling. Maybe you will agree. So when you get pulled over, we're talking about police, right? And I want to have a disclosure that I'm not anti-police and by no
Yeah.
means. But keeping this in mind, so you get pulled over, right? This person's at work. You're
Hmm.
not. We are therapists. Is there at any point, and I'm asking you a question now, is at
Mhm.
any point are we allowed to bring our personal issues that we're actively dealing with into the session and let it override our ability to perform the duties of our job?
Absolutely not.
Right. But somehow, when it comes to policing, we allow that.
Mhm.
We allow that because I'm thinking about what you just said, right? You said maybe this
Mhm.
brother has some stuff going on. Maybe that sister has something going on. That could be true. I'm not
Yeah.
minimizing that. That could absolutely be true. We don't want to
Yeah.
make any assumptions here.
Absolutely.
But you're at work. That's
Mhm.
why I made the point that I just made. You're at work.
Absolutely.
I'm not allowed to do what you can do. And more importantly, I don't have anything on me that can truly harm you other than maybe my hands, right? You have all sorts of items, tools that you can utilize to harm me potentially in my life. So, even more so than us
Mhm.
civilians, right? I would say it's imperative that we see change there because to
Yeah.
me, that is not acceptable. It's not acceptable behavior. We wouldn't even tolerate that from a child to say,
Mhm.
just because you feel some type of way that you're allowed to
You get to do that.
disrespect or harm other people. We would
Yep.
not tolerate that from a child. So I'm definitely not going to tolerate that from an adult. I just want to make that point clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, back to your point about how we see ourselves in other people, I would agree. One of the stories that, and I still remember his name. Thankfully, he walked away, though, Lieutenant Nazario. I still remember his name for some reason. I remembered him specifically because he was military. I was actually prior service as well, Army. And he was mixed like me. He was black and Latino.
Mhm.
And he was the brother that pulled over at the gas station because it was dark and he wanted to make sure there was enough light so if somebody did end his life that they would see it.
Wow.
That was his story. I remember it very clearly. The fact that this brother had the foresight, right, to think to do that. It's a
Mhm.
dark street. Let me get under this gas station light so if they take me out, you guys can see it. Number two, he was in uniform. We talk a
Mhm.
lot about veterans. We talk a lot about people who are in the service. The fact that he was that threatened, he's an officer too, by the way. He's a lieutenant, so that means he's an officer. So he's fairly high ranking. The fact that he still was that worried, that nervous, that concerned, and then was that mistreated just goes to show how much work we still have left to do. Because
Yep.
I immediately saw myself in this man. Immediately. And I was like, that's the best case scenario. A brother in his uniform, you think you get a little bit of leeway there, right?
Hmm.
And no, he's sitting here worried about being assaulted, maybe even taken out completely. And that's when I was like, we're going too far. This is like, this is after George Floyd, but the point is we need to demand more. So and we're going to hold the dualities of this in kind. Yes, there are police officers who go through traumatic experiences that have their own hardships, and I don't want to diminish or minimize any of that, right? And at the same time, the fact that we have to have these conversations, the fact that parent to child, we have to make them aware of this, it doesn't feel like that's fair. It doesn't feel like that's appropriate. That expectation should be higher. We need to demand more because we would not tolerate that from a young child or any other professional at their job.